Hello, everyone, and welcome to the August meeting and candidate showcase of Solidarity Lowell. My name is Marissa DuPont. I will be your moderator today. Just a few guidelines. This meeting is being recorded and will be put on YouTube as well as played on LTC. And by staying in the meeting, you consent to both. To speak, please use the raise hand function in Zoom or type an asterisk into the chat. Our timekeeper today is Mitchell Pollan. Please be mindful of time limits. Our stacker is Chris Offerman. Captions are available if you choose to use them. I find them helpful. Sometimes they're not accurate, but helpful. As always, step up, step back. What this means is if you are speaking a lot, please step back and make room for others to speak. If you are not speaking, we'd like you to step up and speak. We want to hear everybody's opinions about all of the things. Please assume positive intentions. Means just what it says. If someone says something and you could take it one way or the other, assume the good thing. And if your words do cause hurt, you may say ouch, unmute yourself and say ouch, to let someone know that you have been hurt in some way or offended or whatever. And then the person who did the offensive thing can be accountable and say oops, apologize, however much they want to say. You can just leave it as ouch and oops if you want. And the one that I always struggle with, please speak slowly. Our agenda tonight will start with brief attendee introductions and our land acknowledgement, which has been updated. Then we'll talk about what Solidarity Lowell is, news, committee updates, allied organizations updates, and our featured speakers, Tara Hong and Joe Reddy. And then we'll wrap up around 6:55. Oops. Okay. So we'll start with introductions. So please give your name, your pronouns, where you live, and what's your favorite thing to do on a rainy day. I said, my name is Marissa DuPont. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I live in South Lowell. And my favorite thing to do on a rainy day is, well, there's two, read and play board games. All right, Chris, you're next.
Hi, Chris Offerman. I live in downtown. Pronouns are she, hers. And my favorite thing to do on a rainy day, either sleep or bake.
Dan O'Connor.
Dan O'Connor, I'm a Dracut resident. My favorite thing to do on a rainy day, boy, I just stay home and relax.
John Grossman. John, you're muted.
Hi, John Grossman, he, him, from Lowell, Pawtuckaville. I actually like walking in the rain sometimes.
Paul. Paul, you're muted.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Paul Godet, the Highlands, he, him. My favorite thing to do on a rainy day, when it's really stormy, I like to stand with the door open and watch the rain pour down. But otherwise, napping is always fun.
Ryan.
My name is Ryan Hammond, he, him. I live in the Acre. I'm on the coordinating committee. And my favorite things to do on a rainy day are either read a book or watch a movie.
Brent.
My name is Brent Sandfield, they, them pronouns. I live in the Lowell Highlands. My favorite thing to do is to read a book by the window.
Mitch.
Hey, Mitch Pollan. I live in the Acre. I use he, him. As the owner of an old Lowell house, there are quite very many things inside of it that are in perpetual need of repair.
Amy.
Have to go after that industriousness, huh? Hi, Amy Baranowski, she, her pronouns. I live in the Acre. Favorite thing to do on a rainy day would be either play board games or nap, preferably with a cat.
Joe Reddy.
Joe Reddy here. He, him. I live in Chelmsford. I would say probably playing board games with the kids on rainy days. So.
Judith.
It's Judith Durant, she, her. I live in the Highlands, and my favorite thing to do on a rainy day would be to knit. But the reality is that I'm still working on whatever campaign I'm involved with at the time because it doesn't stop for rain.
It's true. Felix.
Hello, my name is Felix Brown. I use he and they pronouns. I live in downtown Lowell, and my favorite thing to do on a rainy day, if it's torrential downpours, to go out and walk in it. But if it's just normal rain, is yeah, to obviously nap. There's something really magical about it.
Tara.
Hi everyone, my name is Tara Hong. I live in the Lower Highland, and my pronoun is he, him. My favorite thing to do on a rainy day at this moment for the past few years is canvassing.
Nice. We appreciate that. All right. I think I got everybody. If I miss anyone, please jump in. Okay. Now our new land acknowledgement, which I have to find. Where did it go? Oh, that's helpful. Whole new window opened. And another one. Why? My goodness. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Okay. Our new Solidarity Lowell land acknowledgement. We must acknowledge that the land in Lowell is that of the Pennacook. However, acknowledging the Pennacook as sovereign of this land is complex and not the entire story. After rampant colonization carried out through genocide, biological warfare, slavery, and other inhumane methods, the Pennacook were no longer present in Lowell by the beginning of the 18th century. This in no way means that there is no longer any Native American presence in Lowell, nor that there hasn't always been. Local indigenous people will refer to themselves as Pawtucket, Abenaki, Wamasett, or even Pennacook, indicating the long and intricate history of this place. This is a place where multiple indigenous peoples over time have called their home. Massachusetts is unique in its indigenous history, known as one of the first places where colonizers settled in North America. This also means that this was one of the first places where indigenous people were confronted with colonial violence. The current Native American population in Massachusetts, including here in Lowell, is a testament to the resilience of the indigenous people, as well as their venerated connection to the land here. Only when we acknowledge this land and its history properly are we able to understand an adequate method of recovering from an unjust past. This is why we begin with this statement. We ask you all to educate yourselves further on the indigenous presence and contributions to Lowell, or wherever you consider your home. It is not the burden of those indigenous populations to educate us and earn our respect. We are living on land that was stolen, and by educating ourselves and connecting with our local indigenous groups and organizations, we together can work on creating a more equitable and realistic community that works for us all. With this acknowledgement, we hope that these facts will be influential and present in our working toward a better reality. And with great thanks to Felix for writing the original statement that we adopted. All right, so what is Solidarity Lowell? We are a volunteer group of Greater Lowell community members working toward social justice by defending the human rights, dignity, and equality of all against hate and discrimination. We welcome new members. The Solidarity Lowell Coordinating Committee, please raise your hands, is your elected team of volunteers running the meetings, organizing events, disseminating relevant news, and sharing calls to action. And our elections are held in April. Progressive Massachusetts. Solidarity Lowell is a chapter of Progressive Mass, which is a statewide member-driven grassroots organization committed to fighting for a vision of shared prosperity, racial and social justice, good government, and environmental sustainability in Massachusetts. And you can visit their website for more info. We are also an affiliate of the Merrimack Valley Project, which works towards improving the quality of life in the Valley communities by organizing to save and create jobs of dignity with decent wages, to bring about reinvestment and economic revitalization, to save and create affordable housing, and to identify and pursue other issues related to the welfare of the Valley. And you can also visit their website. And And we would like to welcome Felix to the coordinating committee. If the coordinating committee is all the seats are not filled by the election, we have the option of asking folks to participate, and we are proud to announce that Felix has joined us. We're very excited. Welcome, welcome. Clap, clap, clap. Okay, victories. We like to talk about positive things that have happened, not just the negatives. The U.S. Supreme Court blocked Purdue Pharma's bankruptcy settlement that would shield the Sacklers from lawsuits. The far-right National Rally did not win the French legislative election. They were polling in the lead and won the most votes in the preliminary round, but came in third place behind the left-wing National Popular Front and Macron's centrist Ensemble parties. The federal government reached a historic $241.5 million settlement with Marathon Oil for air quality violations at its operations on the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation in North Dakota. The Affordable Homes Act will build or save 75,000 homes through $5.1 billion in authorizations and 49 policy initiatives, and makes ADUs legal statewide. Unionized Maryland Apple Store workers get their first U.S. contract, which raises wages roughly 10% over 3 years and guarantees benefits and severance pay. We hope LTC gets something similar very soon. A statue honoring John Lewis will replace a former Confederate monument in Georgia. Does anyone else have anything positive that they'd like to share?
I'd just like to announce that those who may not have heard, that Merrimack Valley Project kind of took the lead in trying to protect the Stewart hospitals located in Methuen and Haverhill. And we collected over 4,000 petition signers. Some of them are not from the Valley because collected them at the Folk Festival and some other places, but it looks like Lawrence General is going to be a qualified buyer and will save those two hospitals. They're still working on Neshoba Valley and Kearney, and state legislators as well as community leaders are not giving up, and hopefully we'll be able to save those as well. But we did save Haverhill.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Big deal. And props to Lefty for all of his work on that.
Amen.
Any other positive news that anyone would like to share? I'm looking for, oh, hold on. I gotta check the chat too. I do not see anyone else. Okay. Moving on. The Emergency Housing Coalition, apologies for the wall of text, but all of this was important. So you can join us in this coalition effort with LAMA, Merrimack Valley Project, and Solidarity Lowell as we continue the work of advocating for humane treatment of our unhoused neighbors and for affordable housing. We have once again introduced our proposal for warming and cooling centers to the Lowell City Council for consideration. We have over 100 signatures supporting this initiative from the community. Please show your support of the City Council agenda item 11.7. Online, you can submit a comment to all City Council members and the City Manager. You can register to speak on Tuesday in support of the item. You just need to contact Michael Geary before noon on Tuesday and sign up. He'll just need your name and address, and I think that's it, the number of the motion. And then please, even if you don't want to speak, join us at the City Council meeting. We'll be meeting in the foyer of City Hall at 6:15 p.m. on Tuesday, so we can all walk in together and make a statement. If you haven't yet signed the petition, you can do so at bit.ly/LEHC-petition. And if you are able, please write a letter to the editor in support of the petition. The letter should be under 200 words and reference an article from the paper, and also tie in the Supreme Court decision criminalizing homelessness if possible. And if you have any questions, you can email me, marissa@solidaritylowell.com. Did someone say something? Okay. Upcoming events. Our next Lowell Emergency Housing Coalition meeting is actually tomorrow, August 26th, 7 o'clock on Zoom. And you can email contact@solidaritylowell.com and we'll give you the link. Again, Tuesday, please attend the city council meeting. Our next Demonstrate, Dine, and Discuss is coming on Saturday, August 31st at 4. We'll be standing out for Tara and Joe. And primary election day is on Tuesday, September 3rd. Please don't forget to vote. Early voting has already begun. Dan and I just mailed our ballots today. The Steward Crisis and the Future of Healthcare in Massachusetts, a presentation by Progressive Mass, will be held on Thursday, September 5th at 7 on Zoom. We encourage you all to attend if you're not familiar with that whole situation. And then Mill City Messaging, our social postcarding event, is on Thursday, September 12th from 6 to 8 at Lala Books. You can get all those things on your calendar. Yeah. All right, Ryan.
There's the unmute button. All right, next Demonstrate, Dine, and Discuss is at August 31st from 4 p.m. till 6 p.m. And then at 6, we will adjourn over to District 5 for Vietnamese food. We are once again doing a standout promoting the campaigns for public office of our featured and beloved guest speakers for this evening, Tara Hogg and Joe Reddy. If you want to help plan or make signs, please contact us, in particular myself, Ryan, at solidaritylowell.com. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ryan. All right, Amy, Mill City Messaging.
Hey, yeah, so we've been doing this for a few months now. It's the second Thursday of the month at Lala Books, downtown on Market Street. We don't have a topic yet this month, but we'll come up with a good cause or causes to write on. Yeah, so yeah, like it says, bring your own refreshments and a pen and good conversation. So it's just a time to get some writing done, but also chat and talk, and should be a good time. So come on down on September 12th.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, allied group updates and announcements. This is when folks who are members of Solidarity Lowell, who are also members of other groups, can tell us what's going on in those other groups, and we can share information and go to each other's events. Who would like to share?
Dan, if you like, this would be the place where to repeat what you just put up. Yes, John, I see you. Let me just finish, because Dan put a thing in the chat, but it might be good to repeat that out loud for everybody, because the recording will obviously not see the chat. And then next is John. Dan, do you want to do that?
Sure. Let's see if I kept track of what I said. Actually, the next Hunger Homeless Commission meeting for September is on Wednesday, September 4th at 12 p.m. It's a virtual meeting. The Zoom link and the meeting notice will be issued by midweek. Our guest speaker is Chris Thompson, and Chris is the Undersecretary at the Division of Housing, Undersecretary for the Division of Housing Stabilization at the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. The Executive Office for Housing and Livable Communities, Division of Housing Stabilization, is responsible for the administration of the state's emergency assistance family shelter system. And Undersecretary Thompson will be delivering remarks that provide an overview of housing stabilization services and the current state and future of the EA family shelter system. And I'm sure if people have been following along, the EA family system is in a state of declared emergency, and there's a lot going on, a lot of new policies. So should be interesting to hear from the Undersecretary.
Thanks, Dan. John?
Yeah, so 350 Mass, the climate justice group. Quick report is that, as you probably saw in the news, the legislature did not pass a climate bill this session for the first time in the last 3 sessions. Got stuck between the House and the Senate. The House version was streamlining siting for new installations. The Senate version was stronger and took some major steps to moving away from the gas system and towards clean heat and geothermal. And our current position on the matter is that it's possible that they'll come back and try to pass it. We don't like the siting bill. We don't want to pass the siting bill alone. There are some good things in it, but we don't want to pass it alone. We don't want to avoid the opportunity to get this changes in the gas system there. We're afraid if the siting bill passes by itself, it'll be several years before we can do something else. So we'll be supporting the concept of reaching an agreement with the Senate and passing changes in the gas system so that someday we can stop using gas and have clean heat, and people won't be paying for new investments in the gas system that they are making now. Finally, the siting bill doesn't have strong protections for communities, especially low-income, low political clout, environmental justice communities. So that's the report.
Thanks, John. Anyone else want to give an update? All right, I am not seeing anyone else's hands, so we will move on. Okay, so we'll start with Tara, our candidate for state rep of the 18th Middlesex District, and we are very proud to have endorsed him. If you have any questions for Tara, please type your questions in the chat or use the raise hand function, but we'll have the two candidates speak for 5 minutes each first, and then we'll do the Q&A all together. So Tara, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. 1 second. Hi, there you go. Good evening, everyone. My name is Tara Hong. First of all, I want to say thank you again for the endorsement and for your support for the past few months in this campaign. We've been kicking off our campaigns in the month of March, as you may already know, and we've been canvassing, knocking on door, phone banking, and wholesaling since then. And for right now, since we only have 9 more days left until election, which is getting there, and we also been continuing to those canvassing and wholesaling as well, just our get out to vote way of encouraging people to vote. And as like mentioned at the last time, for Amy, when you hold fundraising for us, is that our social media presence also been active as well, and thanks to you all, it's been up and around and been pretty active all around around the district, which is good. And for the rest of it, and nothing else we can really do besides canvassing and phone banking, and we are hoping that this is the time that we will win and bring change to our community. And as you may already know, that I'm running again this year because we want to build a better constituent service in the district. Constituent service means that we need to have a state representative who understand the community in and out, and are also willing to take this job full time as well, to work 365 days to serve the people in the 18th Middlesex District. And at the moment, we don't have that, and we are selling this point to our community to try to get our community to understand why we need change, why this 24-year-old dude is running in the community, and the momentum is strong. I'm gonna keep that momentum going until September 3rd at 8 p.m. when poll close. So yeah, I'm open to any question that you may have, and there you go.
Great, thank you, Tara. All right, we'll go to Joe Reddy.
Hello, everyone. Joe Reddy. I want to start off by thanking everyone for all of the support and help that I've received thus far, and I really have enjoyed meeting and getting to know all of you. I do want you to know that my involvement with Solidarity Lowell does not end with this campaign. I really love the mission of this organization and the people that are a part of it. It's right up my alley as far as how I believe we should try to make strides to improve things in our society, and certainly trying to help people that are marginalized. So I am here running for Register of Deeds, and while it is a non-partisan type administrative position, I do think that there are, various things that we can do to try to improve the office, should I be able to win. And some of it is, taking a look at, how we can help people out that are not necessarily just homeowners. I think the registry could be a vital database for, anyone, whether they're a renter or a landowner. And I want to try to make it more accessible. So that's been a big part of my campaign. One of the things that I've talked about is improving the technology. And I think by improving the technology, we're going to be able to essentially create abstracts of the documents that exist within the system. If we can improve basically text recognition, we can then take a lot of those documents and try to translate them into different languages. So that's going to be a big piece of the puzzle. One of my opponents had brought up a great suggestion, actually, which was, lawyer of the day. And, I would be happy to implement, that same system, because I do think that there's a number of people that come in that do not have the resources financially or otherwise to be able to get the advice that they need. So it would be good to try to partner with lawyers throughout the Commonwealth, see if they can do some sort of pro bono work. In addition, I do like the fact that the registry is in the city of Lowell. I think it's vital for the economy and access to public transportation to get there and all of that. But I do believe that we should try to set up some sort of kiosk system outside of security. I do think it's a little imposing to have somebody kind of derobe just to get maybe documents to the registry, or even interface with people just to ask a simple question. So one of the things I would do as register is look to see if there's a way to essentially move security, or even just place some sort of like outside kiosk, just so that we can be more public friendly for an office that doesn't necessarily need to have that level of protection. So I don't want to have anybody feel like they can't get the services that they need. Certainly we want to implement technology to help people, but one of the things that's been brought up is using AI for customer service. I don't really like that idea, because if anybody here has used AI for a multitude of things, sometimes it's just not giving the proper information. And so I think it's good, especially in land record management, where things can be one-off, that we look at how we can help people specifically. So customer service would be a big piece of what I'd be looking to do. I do want to thank Richard Howe, because I think he did a phenomenal job over the past 30 years working in the registry. And I think, I went to a big event a couple months ago where Community Teamwork had recognized him as a champion of the community. And so, while the Registry of Deeds may just be administrative, you are elevated to a certain level where I think people look to you for suggestions and roles that you might be able to provide to the community. And I was impressed with Richard's background and what he's done for housing, and what he's done to try to help populations of people that might be unhoused, right? So these are things that I really would like to try to tackle. Not whether I win or lose. The homeless situation is something that I think about quite often, and really try to think about how we can come up with meaningful solutions that can help people. And if I'm going over, I apologize, everyone. One of the key things that the registry does, above and beyond recording documents and maintaining them and providing access, is it takes in state fees. One of the things that it takes in is CPA funds, which, I think everybody can appreciate, provides, really necessary, money to communities so that they can use that in a manner of ways, whether it's affordable housing or that's, conservation land, or whatever they're looking to purchase. So, those are things that I think are important to the community. And, in this race, I think the one thing that's been missing is really the fact that, experience does matter, but it's not just knowing the documents that exist within the system. I know all 150 plus documents that may come through, but I think what's more important is really being able to establish internal controls, building meaningful processes, and really being able to go out into the community and try to, implement things that are creating a struggle with those that may be trying to use the registry. And so, as somebody that's used it as I'll call it as a consumer, I know that there's so many little nuanced things that could be fixed that would really help the community moving forward. And I think that takes somebody that has experience from a managerial standpoint. The other thing too is that, you're going to be hiring quite a few people coming up. And one of the things that I pride myself on is that, I've done a lot of hiring in my lifetime. I've done a lot of interviewing, and I always feel that process should be a fair process for people. And so, you really have to take the opportunity to interview all of the candidates, understand what it is that they're bringing to the table. I think you can see from my responses before my endorsement, I do think that diversity, equity, and inclusion is a big part of the hiring process. And that's something that I would try to implement within the Registry of Deeds. I think a lot of the resentment out there is because there's been a lot of political hires, patronage hires. I fear with some of my opponents that type of behavior would continue. That's not something that would happen under my leadership. I am here to be fair and equitable and to try to bring people in that can create diversity and bring great ideas to the operation. So that's a promise that I make to all of you on that front. And then, again, this has been a very, this campaign is 10 communities. So we've been trying to traverse everywhere. And certainly, I think we've done a good job of getting our messages out there. I've hit everyone that I think will vote in this election at least twice with a mailing. We've been doing a lot of phone calling, and we have hit everybody, I think, with a text message. And I know that some people find this to be annoying, but ultimately we would like to win this. So I appreciate that. If time's up, I want to ask you for your vote and ask you for your support moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Joe. Okay, so now we'll go to Q&A. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to raise your hands.
Dan put a question in the chat.
Okay.
Now the question is, can you spotlight two people at the same time?
Yeah, let's I'm trying to do that too. Oh no, it looks like, oh wait, add spotlight. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So this one is for Tara. The EA family shelter system is in a declared state of emergency. Family shelter capacity is capped at 7,500 and length of stay time limits have been enacted. The waiting list for shelter is very long. New policies have been enacted to restrict the use of overflow shelters. The budget for the system is exceeding $1 billion. How do you propose to deal with this issue?
Well, thank you, Dan, for the question. For relate to this topic, it's something that we've been talking about since the beginning of this year, and even before that as well. And because of the experience for the past few months, the refugee and immigrant that we are facing in our Commonwealth of Massachusetts they need help and support so them can start a new life here, right? But at the same time, the state, our Commonwealth, working our hardest to bring those funding and resources to support those families to grow. But the state cannot do this alone. We cannot do this alone. We need the help and support from the federal government as well. I mentioned this in the early beginning of my campaign, is that we have to find a way to force the federal government to do their job and stop playing the game. Republican and Democrat Party have to find a way to find a solution to get those funding from the federal level, bring it to the state that need it, so that way we can tackle on and improve this issue, and everyone can have a comfortable and able to start a new life here in our Commonwealth and across the country as well. Even though we know today, I'm going to mention this, even though we know yesterday that Launch Your Hand endorsed Roddy Mom, but endorsement doesn't mean anything. Endorsement, just endorsement. It's something that it goes back on who is willing to do the work and continue strengthening those relationships. When I elected to be the next state representative for the 18 Middlesex District, I'm not going to just talk the talk, we'll talk the walk and get the job done. Commonwealth and in the district as well.
Tara, just in reality, the state is going to be faced with this problem on its own for the foreseeable future. So as a state rep, you're not going to be rescued necessarily in any time soon by the federal government. How do you handle it now?
Well, that's another thing that I mentioned it before. Is relating to the state auditor that want to audit the state legislature as well. I'm not in there at this moment, so I don't really know the backroom dealing or what is the main problem is to let us to where we are right now. But I want to see the state auditor to audit the state legislators to see what are missing and how can we as a state house, the state representative, to be more effective and to be more smart on how can we spend money and allocate those funds to support different programs. Hope that answered your question.
Well,
Thanks.
actually not. I mean, just being realistic, the state is doing an awful lot on its own.
Correct. That's right.
And even if the state auditor goes through and audits how the EA family funding is being spent, there's still going to be a huge financial problem as well as a huge social problem. We're talking about families literally being on the street.
Correct. Yeah. I mentioned that we need to find a way to force the federal government to do their job because the state cannot do this alone, as we experience right now, right? We over budget and we cannot continue being like this. The federal government can be another resource that helps support each state. So as we talk about Commonwealth to help us to tackle on this issue right now. And I mentioned the state auditor because to audit the state legislature to see how can for the past how many years that they are missing on how they get the job done, or on how can they allocate funding to support different programs. As for example, this year itself, this House leadership able to secure $5 million among themselves into their state to fix their museum and so on, park. It is something that we can look into it and use that in a smart way on how can we expand and even possible to create more support in different programs, including the shelter situation as well.
Thanks, Tara. So we have a question for both of you, and we'll start with Joe. Where do you stand on each of the ballot questions?
Mind if I just bring them up on my screen here and go through them?
I wasn't thinking
Oh,
I should have had them up.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure we're talking about the same stuff. So, question one in regards to being able to audit the legislature, I think that's a good idea. I'm always a big proponent of public access to information, so I would vote for that. I believe that we honestly should repeal the MCAS requirement. One of the reasons that I feel that way is that when you've gone through public school and you've met all of the requirements, you should graduate with a degree or a diploma. And here we are talking about trying to get everyone in society more educated. We're talking about giving free education through our community colleges. Why we're trying to block people from being able to utilize that those diplomas to try to get ahead. It doesn't make any sense to me personally. I understand why we put MCAS in place, and that was to understand metrics of how children were learning and really be able to hold teachers accountable. But I think we're taking a segment of the population and really we're not helping them improve or move forward. So that would be my answer on that. I'm always so unionization of collective bargaining for transportation network drivers. I'm always big on unionization. I think people coming together to ultimately bargain for their rights is good. Regulate access to psychedelic substances. Again, I don't know enough about that question, honestly, but I really don't feel like we should be trying to imprison people over drug use so much. I mean, we definitely need to take drugs that are like hard drugs out of the system, but trying to bring people down is not a positive for me. Gradually increase the wage of tipped employees until it meets the state standard wage in 2029. Yeah, I mean, I would vote yes for question 5 as well. That's where I stand on this.
Awesome, thank you. Tara?
I support all the 5 questions that we just mentioned it, from audit to city administrator to see and bring more transparency and bring to help raise our democracy awareness as well in our Commonwealth. Second question was repeal the graduation requirement of UMCAS. I have personal experience on that as a second language learner. Came from Cambodia. UMCAS is one of the most difficult tests for me to get through high school. It shouldn't be that way. I'm a 4.0 GPA student as a low high school, but UMCAS is one of the hardest for me to sit there for 3 hours to take tests. But at the same time, though, UMCAS is also a waste of time for teacher to teach, to require to teach, take 2 weeks or so to just teach students how to take the test. Well, those times should able to give the teacher the opportunity to teach real course, real curriculum that students need to learn and for their success and so on. For for the driver, it's important for Uber or Lyft to able to have the benefit and fair pay for their time of working, and I fully support on that. And for the 4th question, I forgot. Is that for the medicine one?
Psychedelics.
Yeah,
right. It's I don't have full detail on that, but I do support it because it will allow the study to study more. Will this is benefit, or will is a benefit to help fix issue, mental health or sickness that this medicine can help or not. The 5th one, the fair wage is important. Waitress should not live on tip. Waitress should have a fair wage that our state has this moment, so everyone can live comfortably and have an easy life.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, so next question for Joe. What is electronic mortgage fraud, and what will you do to prevent it?
Yeah, so electronic mortgage fraud, one of the things that they've done is, especially with COVID, people can essentially, record mortgage documents, electronically. So if we look at, Elvis Presley and the Presley estate, they basically recorded essentially a mortgage that they used to try to foreclose on. And one of the things that we really need to look at, and this isn't really under the purview of the Register of Deeds, but it is something that I would be working on extensively, is the notarization system, because that's really the protection that's in place for these fraudulent documents. Is essentially there's a notary that's looked over these documents, made sure that that person is the person of record, and that they're attesting to their signature. And I think with everything that's going on right now, where you're allowing for online notarizations and things of that nature, and especially with AI and the advancement and being able to create fraud, these are things that we need to work on. And so no different than we assign license numbers to real estate brokers, or we assign BBO numbers to attorneys, we should be assigning a number to a notary, and that way we can kind of maybe even create a 2-factor authentication type system for notaries, so that we know that documents that are coming through the registry have been in fact notarized by that person. It's a little bit trickier because it extends out of state, and it can even become foreign through foreign entities and the consulates and all that. So certainly a lot lot to work on, but I think it's something to try to tackle and improve upon.
Great. Okay, for Tara, you weren't elected last time. Have you had a better indication that you will win?
I'm pretty sure we're gonna win this time. The reason why we've been working our butt off since last time we lost in 2022, and we lost by a small margin as well, but only 56 votes to a four-term incumbent back then. And since then, we have not stopped campaigning and tried to introduce ourselves to the community of why we are the best choice and the best candidate in this race. And for this year itself, since we kicked off our campaign, we have been canvassing, phone banking, and nonstop since the month of March. And now some of the people in the community is annoying from seeing us so much in the district, but that is the positive feeling that we have right now in our campaign, because we work our hardest and we are seeing the momentum is pretty strong, and our message as well, it's building a better constituent service in the district to give the people voice back, to give the voice to the people back so they can voice their opinion on how things should be done in our district and our Commonwealth as well. And that's the promise that we are planning to do. And also when we're able to build that relationship and back with the people in the district, we can also work to tackle on other issues as well, like affordable housing, education, climate change. This issue, a state representative or a state house cannot do it alone. It needs the voice from each of the district to see what benefit for everyone and how can we improve that for the better of this generation and the next as well. So we're gonna win this time. We're gonna win.
Awesome. All right, so another one for both of you. How is the campaign going? Joe, let's start with you.
I think it's going really well. I just left the Carlisle 3rd Middlesex District cookout. There was probably, I would say, 100+ people in attendance. I was able to give, my speech to everyone, but really, as I walked around, there was a lot of people that had already voted for me through early balloting. I've got quite a bit of support out there. And so, every community that I go into, I've really had, really just a good response, I would say. And so, we just keep up our mission and we just keep pushing forward, and we'd love to be in every community for every event at every time, but, it's just not feasible. I do try to still volunteer when I can, and try to, just get out the vote as much as possible. I think really utilizing technology has helped us a lot, though, through text messaging and other services. So.
Sarah?
I like just follow did the same thing to the last question, is that we're feeling good, we're feeling positive, and we're going to continue knocking on door, phone banking, and whole sign until September 3rd. So.
Awesome. All right. For Tara, when you are elected, what will you do for the housing crisis? And well, we kind of talked about that already, but is there anything else you want to talk about in terms of housing crisis and homelessness?
For the affordable housing and housing crisis or housing shortage that we are experiencing right now in our Commonwealth, is that it's a big issue that we have to keep talking about it, right? Keep pushing the agenda going forward from here. And for the district that I'm running for itself, it's really unique. We have the Upper Highland that's majority single home. At the Lower Highland and the Acre neighborhood, there's a lot of 2-family, 3-family housing. And those housing are expensive to rent, especially for student and family who have big family who live in the district, right? And the only thing that I've been trying to build and continue the conversation to is to build a stronger relationship with other nonprofit in Lowell that we have, like Merrimack Valley Housing Partnership, CTI also focus on housing and affordable housing, CBA, and also federal government program organization we have in Lowell, the Lowell Housing Authority, they are focused on building more affordable housing and try to find a way to give more people a safe place to live in our city of Lowell and in my district as well. As the next state representative, I promised to find a way to build build a better relationship with them all by going to them and ask what can we help from the state level, right? For this position as a state representative, we can write legislation, we can write law and pass bill and so on, but if we don't understand or know what are the key player in our district need help and support, nothing gonna get done, right? Been having a pretty good relationship with the Lowell Housing Authority, get to know with CBA people and the housing side as well. So that is the plan going forward when elected, is to have a better relationship with them, hear their concern, and how can we work together to bring funding in, resource in to support those organizations to able to build more housing and a safer place for people in our community.
Great. All right, another question for both of you. We'll start with Joe. This is from Mitch, by the way. How did your prior experience prepare you for the office you're seeking?
Well, I would say that, you know, having managed people at Harvard Law School, you know, a union staff, I think is really important. I think where you're walking into a managerial role, certainly knowing how unions operate is important, because a lot of times there's decisions that are made within that union and you're trying to honor those things, whether that's working hours or whatever it might be. And so, you know, a lot of it comes down to understanding that. You know, but I have built my own company from the ground up. So, you know, I understand how to make successful operations come together. And then more importantly, where I'm running on the political side of things, where I'm running for, you know, this state level office that's really, you know, 10 communities, you know, you really have to have some campaign experience in your background. And so, you know, having been the manager of many people's campaigns over the past decade, if you go into Chelmsford or some of the surrounding communities, you know, I've been a big part of helping those people get elected. And, you know, I know to a certain degree what works and what doesn't. And I've also had that experience of seeing what a back end operation looks like. And it's not always pretty in these campaigns. You know, you're asking for volunteer effort from people. And I'm never going to be able to effectively repay all of the great things people have done. I'm so appreciative of everything that everybody's given me. And I can't thank especially this group enough. So.
Thanks, Joe. That's really kind of you. Tara.
I'm sorry, what is the question again?
Hold on, pulling it up. Okay, how did your prior experience prepare you for the office you're seeking?
Thank you. My background is work in the community. I started volunteering for different nonprofit and political campaigns and graduated from high school in 2018. My first campaign that I volunteered for was for Rick DeYoung, running for state representative for the same district that I'm running for at this moment. That was the first campaign that inspired me and kicked me to continue volunteer for different political campaign in the local level and the national level as well. But in the community work, I started volunteer for nonprofit for Cambodian Mutual Assistance Association, short for CMAA. My main volunteer job and that helped give me the opportunity to rise up to be a full-time working at CMA as a civic engagement job, to get people to vote, educate our community why voting is important and why your voice is important in every election that we are having in our community and so on. And from there, I move on to educational side, because I also have passion, and one day, beside political career stuff, want to become a teacher, teaching in social study, history, and so on. And that is, and I start working. I got the opportunity to work at the central office, which is the main office for Lowell Public School, as the portrait of a graduate project manager, which give me firsthand to understand the experience of student, experience of staff, and what are the missing resource that the Lowell Public School need to support staff, teacher, and student as well. And from there, I moved from there to work at the nonprofit, educational nonprofit, that we have more free room to do creative thing to allow students, offer student internship, paid internship, and guide them to graduate from high school and college. And that is my experience in the community that give me the opportunity and the knowledge to run for this position, is to understand the need of our community. What are the missing are, and how can we as a community work together to improve that? And as a state representative, this position is important because it's affect people's life every single day if you do the job right? It's a position that can improve the quality of life in our community by pass law, pass bill, legislation, and bring resources funding back to our community. I'm a person who are willing to build relationship and not burn the bridge, but willing to build relationship and get the job done for our community. And that is the goal of getting elected this year, to fight for that for our community.
Awesome. Dan O'Connor, you have a question.
This question for Joe, and it goes back to the mortgage fraud.
Sure.
Would it be possible to even go low tech and have some type of, if the homeowner wanted to put some type of red flag on your system where paperwork for mortgage deed transfer had to be done in person, where you're seeing them, and that the person that's currently on the mortgage or the deed has to be notified?
It's something we can look into. I'll tell you that one of the platform pieces that I brought forward is creating a fraud notification service. So for instance, if somebody suspects that there may be fraud, they could red flag the registry and say this property in particular. It's not exactly answering your question yet, but so the registry say, okay, there's, this may be, a property that somebody's trying to purport fraud on, and we can, let the real estate and conveyancing attorneys know. In regards to your question, yes, I mean, we could create a system like that. It's not a bad idea. I think the difficulty comes from how banks operate. Like if your mortgage is with, Bank of America, for instance, and their centralized office, and the person that, handles, those mortgages or discharging of those mortgages, it isn't local, having them come in to sign off on it might not be feasible. But certainly we can look at ways we can create protections for people so that if they want it done in a manner similar to how you described it, that we can try to effectuate that, at least from your end, before anything happens. So,
because fraudsters are getting pretty sophisticated, and big bank should be able to accommodate a little bit better maybe than they are, even if it's inconvenient for them.
They are, but I just want to give you these two examples. Like one is in Fairfield, Connecticut. This just happened last year. You had a doctor that had owned through his family this parcel of land for almost 70 years, somewhere in that range. And he was traveling the country, and all of a sudden he got a call from a friend who was like,
the base on top of the bookshelves?
Oh, I thought so. He got a call from a friend because there was a house being built on his land, and he said, yeah, I'm not building a house. So he came back to find out that, essentially his property had been sold fraudulently from underneath him. And in some respects, property owners that have a mortgage on their property are a little bit more protected, because you need to actually discharge that mortgage before the property can be sold. And so, you'd have to know what the loan numbers are and all that. Sometimes the marginalized groups in that case are people that own the property free and clear without any sort of, mortgage encumbrance on the property. So I think it's a matter of sitting down and really thinking about strategic ways in which we can try to help, prevent those things from happening, and coming up with creative ways that fraudsters would do that, and then try to, thwart that. And sometimes, honestly, it can happen from just mail in. Somebody mails something in to record. You don't actually see that person in person, and they didn't go through an attorney or somebody that's licensed in the registry. If it's all notarized properly, you by law have to record it. So those are things I would want to look at, and then talk to a guy like Tara Hong and say, maybe we need legislation to help improve on some of these things, right? And I know he'll pick up the phone and actually take the call because he's responsive like that. So
yeah, well, the person you describe with no mortgage and they're probably, a lot would be elderly, so
Yeah,
it's
so
affecting kind of a vulnerable group.
yeah, the elderly definitely get targeted, but also, and this is why language accessibility is a key piece, is that, if English is your second language, you can be taken advantage of too if you don't know that these things are happening, or you're not as accustomed to the laws of the United States as someone else, right? So that's why I think that there's a big, piece of this is education. Big piece of it is trying to bring, people within the community that may be marginalized for whatever reason. We look at ways that we can help those groups. So
Thank you.
Great, thanks, Joe.
yeah, sure.
Okay, we'll keep going with Joe for a minute. How did growing up in a political family shape your politics?
I would say so. My father was, very active in politics. He actually served on probably every committee ever, from conservation to, select board. He even ran for county commissioner, and unfortunately he lost that, and then the county was abolished. But what he would do is he would take me and drive me around to all of these events as early as 5 years old, and I would, listen to, people speak about various issues. The way that it shaped me is I have two very important parents. One was my father, who was really the political figure, and he liked to try to help communities figure out how to solve problems, and he was very good at that. My mother was also a teacher. She was a union president and somebody that was very well loved in the community for her teaching efforts. My uncle Bernie is also a teacher. He was a sixth grade math teacher and science teacher, and he used to do all sorts of great classes on like how to raise chickens or whatever it might be, things that aren't necessarily taught today in school. But growing up with teachers as parents, as a person that was in the community, that's kind of shaped at how I look at things. My father always looked at things more from a regional aspect, like how can we save money by trying to work with other communities, right? So he was big on regionalization of services, like ambulance and fire and all of those things. He was also a big protector of conservation and those items. So I know he would just tell me, hey, get in the truck, we're gonna go, and I would jump in, and next thing you know, I'd be moving books at the library. And that's just, I was like, learn by osmosis and volunteer because I just happen to be there. And that's what I've been doing with my kids. Hey, listen, we're going to this next event, and you're going to learn from it, and you're going to grow from this experience. And not everybody has all the same things that you have, and you have to appreciate the things you do have and try to help those that don't. So that's what I took from my childhood.
Awesome. All right, for Tara, how will you increase funding and access to drug and alcohol addiction treatment services?
I to answer the question, I'm not sure how to do that, to be honest with you. But again, of course, the reason why I'm not in the position of helping dealing with those kind of dealing to get the result for our community, right? Because I'm not elected yet. To be able to get the job done is to be in position of power and help start the conversation and guide to the right direction and this kind of issue that we're talking right now, right? But again, I'm going to go back to the state audit of wanting to audit the state legislator. It's a position. It's a power to allow us to see what are missing and how can we improve it to be more transparency, and how can fund be allocated for the right reason, right? It's again, for the past many years, we are facing and hurting about the lack of transparency, the lack of having the session end before passing a lot of big and important legislation like climate change, like this year, or improve our economy and so on. But to allow the state auditor to audit the state legislature, we can see all of this, and then we can work together to improve for the better of our community. So to answer the question at the moment, I don't have a straight answer, and I'm just honest with you. And the only way to do it is to get elected first and we start the conversation together. Yeah.
Great. All right, so one more question for you, Tara. Another one from Mitchell. The MBTA broadly is facing a funding crisis, and Lowell's train and bus terminal is old. Is this something that the state legislature should tackle?
Yes, definitely. This is something that as a state legislator should tackle and fix the issue now. As someone who used to take a public transportation to go to high school and college, I experience, I see it, the lack of resource and also the funding into the transportation, and also I used to take train to just go hang out in Boston and so on, or just go there for a different meeting. It's just not accessible for many to able to use public transportation as easy as it should be, right? And this also connect back to the climate change as well. If we're able to pass the climate crisis, climate bill that was in this session, it can also help turning our public transportation to be more green and more electrified, to be electrified transportation. Then also where funding can be in to help improve our public transportation going forward in our Commonwealth. And I truly believe 100% that we need to tackle on this and help improve this going forward. But let's win first and get the job done together when we get into this position.
Awesome. Okay, so now for both of you, what will you do differently than other elected officials? Let's start with Joe. Might have lost Joe. Tara, why don't you go?
Sorry, I hit my back. It all froze.
You're
up.
back now. You're back now.
Okay.
Okay.
Apparently I'm unstable.
Yeah, did you hear the question?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, all right. So what will you do differently than other elected officials?
Did you want me to go first?
Yes, please.
So one of the things that I will do differently is I will collaborate across the state to try to make the registry, not only the registry better here in Lowell, but the registries that are under the Secretary of State will all rise together as a result. And, you know, I was on Drake It Access cable television on Saturday, you know, and my opponent talks about, oh, well, I think we could get together and have discussions. We need somebody that's going to be a leader that's going to drive those discussions and say, these are the things that need to be changed. How are we going to make this happen? Where are we going to get the funding? How are we going to make it happen? The registry has its own technology fund that's dedicated with every recorded document. So there is money available for us to be able to go and make these types of changes. I think part of the problem is that the registry tends to have people that have been a long time. They don't necessarily see it from an outside consumer standpoint. So by being able to go in there and really, you know, revolutionize Lowell, it will also help revolutionize many of the registries across the Commonwealth. So I will be a leader on that, and I will, you know, make sure I make it the forefront.
Great. Tara?
For me, the different thing as a public service or a politician in our community is by being community and listen to the people. I think that's important as a state representative to understand the need of our community are and how can we improve that and advocate on their behalf at the State House. I also would like to keep everyone accountable and be transparent with the people in the district to let people know what bill, what legislation that I'm filing or plan to vote for in committee and on the House floor, to let everyone know this where I stand and how it will benefit our district for the 18 Middlesex district. And that's important, and we never have that. So for the past 10 years of our current state representative, and it need to be changed. And that is a promise of going forward. And it relate to back to our main priority is to build better constituent service. to be a full-time and active state representative in the community that listen, hear people concerned, build a better relationship with different nonprofit and organizations that we already have in our community that already work in different fields as well. We just need to talk, strengthen this relationship, and get job done for our community. And that is the goal as the next state rep, and we will improve our community to be better because we can do the work.
Yes, agreed. Felix, you.
Yes, I do have a question. I'd like to thank, both Tara Hong and Joe Reddy for answering our questions today. And this is a question for Mr. Reddy. I love how you speak about the Registry of Deeds really needing more accessibility to it so people have more understanding of its role in the community and what it does for people. And you mentioned it being more accessible through improved technology. I was just curious about like how you assess the budget for the Registry of Deeds right now, if it could be improved, or like what's your vision for budgeting if you were elected as Register of Deeds?
Yeah,
Thank
so really, thank you for the question. I appreciate it. Also, before I answer that, I want to be like Tara. I am accessible. If you want to call me, talk to me about anything, I'm always willing to pick up the phone. I've had the same phone number since I was 15 years old, and I'm never changing it. And I put it out on like 40,000 lit pieces. So, honestly, anybody can call me anytime. I think it is important to be able to answer questions for people. Yes, I would say ultimately we need to budget for this, but what happens is that every time a document's recorded, $5 essentially goes towards a technology fee. And I think it's like section JJJ of the House budget, right? It's the registrar's technological fee. And so because we have 13 or so registries that were basically under the Secretary of State when their counties were abolished, they essentially, all that money goes up to the Secretary's office for their discretion. And so really what they're looking for is you need to put together a roadmap of what it is that you're looking to implement. And I've studied a lot of the registries, whether it's been like Plymouth County or some of these, what they're asking for from the state to fund and how they're going to use the money. And so if you put together a logical standpoint of this is what we need to do to improve, say, for instance, language accessibility, and this is how I plan to implement it, they will fund that through that money that's already been set aside. And the other thing too is I hate sometimes that we replicate services. So this goes way back for me. I ran for water commissioner one time because we have 3 water districts in Chelmsford. We have 3 sets of equipment for all of these water departments, when really, if they all merge together, you'd be saving taxpayers tons of money, right? But the water departments are like a fiefdom onto their self. Same thing with the registry. Like you have 13 different registries, 21 total across the entire state. And I know you got to deal with county governments, but we should be looking at how we can come together and build the same services. We shouldn't be trying to replicate things 13 times over and do them 13 different ways. There are good ideas, and I don't have them all, but people come up with them, and I'm happy to implement them. I think we need to work on that and come up with a strategic roadmap and have somebody put together an RFP. We use this service called Avenue, which is actually the vendor for the registry. And we need to go to them and say, listen, we want these particular things to happen, and look at some of these other state agencies, whether it's Registry of Motor Vehicles or it's, Mass Health. How do they implement some of their language services and accessibility to some of their stuff? Maybe that there's resources they can provide to us that won't cost the state very much money at all. So I want to try to look at a lot of those ideas and see what I can do to try to really make some meaningful change. So
I love that perspective. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. All right, this question is from Ryan Oates for Tara. Do you support progressive taxes on high-income individuals as a way to raise state revenue?
Yes, I do. I think a few years ago, when the Fair Share Amendment campaign popped up and came up in our Commonwealth, I was a part of it as well to help advocate and help do the work on our side to get the job done. And it did pass, and we see the benefit of it, the tax to rich, and to see those revenue and money in that we can use to fund education, transportation, housing, and so much more. That it's working, and we have to continue to mandating that to have a fair share, and also, you know, people who make more than $1 million should pay their fair share back to the Commonwealth as well, because it's benefit everyone, and it should be equal no matter how much you make and no matter what place or where or zip code you live. Everyone should pay a fair share in our Commonwealth. So.
All right, I gotta find a good one because this will probably be the last one. What makes you a better choice than the other two running? Joe.
Again, I just want to go back to experience, you know, and it's the message has really been lost in this campaign, unfortunately, because I don't think people are as excited about a register of deeds as they are maybe a state legislator who can work across many different platforms. But the experience that's really needed is somebody that can come in and lead the operation, put together, you know, internal controls and really be able to manage staff and also understand how to do the accounting every day and, you know, think about ways that we can improve our processes and our technology. And so, you know, one of my opponents talks a lot about 32 years of working in the registry, looking at the documents every day, but just looking at the documents is not enough to really improve that office. And, you know, even before I ran for this office, I've sent my ideas into Richard Howe and said, this is how I think you should improve this. He's taken note of that. I have many emails back and forth with Richard where he's like, yeah, you bring up some really great points. And you know what? That'll be great for the next Register of Deeds to take on. And I know that, you know, he probably would have done those things if he wasn't dealing with COVID and also trying to move from one courthouse to another. My other opponent talks about how, and he said it today, I am the only candidate that can bring more money to the registry. The problem is he's never laid out an actual game plan as to what he's going to do with that money. And what's concerning to me is the fact that we've got all these big time endorsements in this race from people that do control some of that money. Are they saying that if I win Registry of Deeds that they're not going to provide those resources to the residents of this area? I mean, he can't be the only person that can bring resources into the registry. If the registry needs money, I will go and get it. And I'll do it through the traditional method of I'm going to put a plan together and then I'm going to stump for that plan and tell people why it's the best plan possible. And I believe that the legislature will fund it. And I don't think he's the only candidate capable of bringing resources into this area. And quite frankly, the registry really doesn't need more money. What it needs is thoughtful, creative ideas and somebody that can implement them. I'd rather take the resources that he's going to try to bring into the registry and use it to try to keep hospitals open, try to go use it for, you know, emergency shelters or what other areas are plaguing us. I can handle a lot of land record management issues just from thoughtful and creative leadership. So that's what sets me apart.
Thanks, Joe. Tara?
For me, what set me apart between the other two candidates is honesty and commitment. That is what we have been showing to our community, that we speaking the facts and try to get the job done for our community. And commitment, as you know, I've been committed to this position and committed to the community since I graduated from high school. It shows the work that I've been showing in our community. It's not something to I'm not someone who's saying and not get the job done. It show my background, you know, an applicator, community activist that will bring those experience and knowledge to this position and work for our community. And for Joe Race, Joe is the best candidate for that position because of his experience of working in this field and his knowledge and his commitment to get the job done. And that's what we are ready to do, right? We're ready to partner together. And even though we in two different positions here, but partnership is important to bring change, to bring support and resource to our community. So between me and the other two candidates in my race, I'm not going around and brag about the stuff that they didn't do, or it's not true at the state how bill that didn't pass, or flip-flop around different bills. I'm committed to be honest with our community and committed to get the job done.
Awesome. Thank you both for attending tonight and answering all of our questions. We really appreciate you coming. And we hope you both win. I just voted for, well, I can't vote for Tara because I'm in the wrong district, but I voted for Joe. All right. So, now how do I do this? Go back to spotlight, remove spotlight. Okay. And now go back to sharing. Okay. So our next meeting is Great. Our next meeting is on Sunday, September 22nd at 5:30, as usual. We're thinking about centering it around the ballot questions, but if anyone else has any ideas, please feel free to send them over. We're not sure if it'll be Zoom only or hybrid. It'll just depend on how COVID is looking at that point. But obviously when numbers are up, we'll meet by Zoom only. Oops. You can always join us online at our Facebook page or Facebook group. The page is public, the group is not. So you'll get more discussion and access to all of our events and all of that from the group. The page is going to just tell you about like the general meetings and like standouts and stuff. You can visit our website at solidaritylowell.com. I've been slowly trying to improve it. It's still a little rough, but please give me some time. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and watch us on LTC. And hopefully after this meeting, we'll have an actual time slot that I'll be able to tell you about. I want to thank you so much for attending. We'll see you next time. And coordinating committee members, if you could stay on for a few minutes, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good one.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank